to TD
Sports.
TD Sports. Let's go check. What's good, everybody? What's good? Hope everybody is doing well on this Tuesday evening, March the 18th. We got a special show today, and we have a special guest. We have a Hall of Fame guest. Last week we did a Hall of Fame boxing inductee, and we have an inductee into the National Sports Media Association Hall of Fame. And without further ado, we'd like to bring up our guest. 1 second. Always having technical difficulties working this. Hold on. You see Socrates over there, my co-host, you know him, and we're going to bring up Hall of Fame sports writer, sports columnist, Dick Hoops Weiss.
Hi, guys. How are you?
What's going on, Dick? How's everything?
It's good. It's nice to talk to you guys.
Same here, and it's an honor. We appreciate you donating some of your valuable time with us. You know, you've been covering college basketball and college football for a very long time. We're out here in New York. We're both from the Bronx, so we've read the newspaper, the Daily News, a bunch of times, and I think you was with the Daily News for over 20 years.
I was there for 23 years. It was a great job. They let me pretty much spend all their money back when newspapers were important. Sent me to any basketball or football game I wanted to go in college sports. It was a fabulous time to be in newspapers. It was the last part of the golden era. Now, unfortunately, papers are dying off, and we've entered a totally different platform in terms of getting our information out. But when newspapers were hot, you almost had to work in New York. I mean, it was the ultimate goal of any writer out there because of the influence that you had and because of the amount of circulation that you had. When I went to New York, we had 1 million circulation at the New York Daily News. That was 1993. And anytime the Yankees would win a playoff game, circulation would jump another 100,000. So it was an amazing time to be a sports journalist. And the fact that they seem to be willing to allow you to spend their money is always a good thing if you're a writer.
Okay. And you didn't start with the Daily News. You, I believe you started in Philadelphia.
I did. I was in the Philadelphia Daily News for 20 years. And then I got a chance to jump at this opportunity. I was doing a lot of NBA stuff, and I was doing a lot of college basketball stuff, a lot of college football stuff. When I got the opportunity to go to New York, you can't turn it down. I mean, and the thing that amazed me the most is how nice the people were in New York. I mean, in Philadelphia, everybody has a negative opinion of New York City, it seems, because they just don't understand that if you can make it in New York, you can pretty much make it anywhere. And I think there was a lot of, just personal dislike because I think people there didn't understand how hard it was to get a job in the city. I mean, I loved every second of it. And the best part for me, my wife and I just bought a house down in Philadelphia. They said, and you don't have to move as long as you can get to an airport. And I was on the road about 150 days a year, or as long as you can get to New York. I was in New York about 30 days a year. We'd love to have you. So it really worked out well. And I will always appreciate my time there. The people were so nice to me, and they, it made you feel like it was an important part of their lives too. I mean, when I started, they really put a lot of emphasis on high school coverage. They wanted to be New York's paper, right? And local college coverage. So you would literally start following these kids when they were 9th, 10th grade. And by the time some of them became pros, they knew all the writers from New York because they had grown up with us the same way we had grown up with them.
Yeah.
Dick, you mentioned you came to the Daily News in '93. That kind of was like the golden era of, at least, I mean, me and Tom were at the same age, we're 47, although he's a little older than me. Uh, and that was a tremendous era of local high school basketball with, I'm a little biased, St. Raymond's High School. I'm St. Raymond's.
The Catholic League playoffs every year were a monster, either at Fordham. A lot of the games were played at Fordham. Look, I used to go to the Catholic League playoffs before I got to New York. I was there when Tolentine played Malloy when Kenny Anderson was a senior in high school. And that was back in '7. And it was so important to people. Back then, there was a lot more of, you played for your CYO school, and then you moved on and played for your local high school. If you won a Catholic League championship, you won it with all your friends, guys you had played with or against from 8th grade on. Now, with the amount of recruiting that goes on, not just in New York, but for New York players, going on scholarship to a number of schools around the country in high school, it's all changed, and we're not necessarily getting the same level of player that we once had. But I'm telling you, from the early '60s to maybe about '98, New York City basketball was the gold standard in grassroots sports.
They used to call it Baby Big East. I remember. I didn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, the best thing about the Big East was it was all. I mean, it was. They changed the dynamics of sports in this country. The ACC used to get all those New York kids. Once the Big East was formed, it created the perfect option, because when they paired with ESPN, you literally had every game on TV. And when they moved the tournament to the Garden in '83, I mean, it became a tough ticket. I mean, 84, 85 was the year where it was the Ewing, Mullen, Pearl Washington years. And you could not win a Big East championship unless you had 4 or 5 pros on a college team. And in '85, Villanova, Georgetown, and St. John's were all in the Final Four down in Lexington. I mean, it was the ultimate block party. And I love the fact it was mostly New York kids on all those teams. Well, DC kids for Georgetown, but St. John's and Villanova, it was basically heavy New York City.
Yeah, I remember the high school games and the championship games in Fordham. You know, I mean, we was in the mid '90s, right? So like you had '93, '94, '95. You know, so you had Felipe Lopez was the big guy.
Oh, yeah. At Rice High School.
Rice High School, yeah, which is no longer in existence. You know, Sock
it's
went to
so
St.
sad that Power's gone, Rice is gone. There are a lot of great high schools that were great incubators for talent that aren't around anymore. It's a shame. Who would ever thought that the best high school team in New York City would be in Westchester County? I mean, Stephanie. That was never, it used to be St. Ray's, Tolentine, Christ the King. I mean, they were national high school powers. Now things have really changed, and it's not necessarily the same thing. I mean, the best team in the New York market right now might be Long Island Lutheran. They have Mello Anthony's kid who's a senior there.
Yes.
And they have the Mingo twins. I mean, it's just different now than it used to be.
It's Did you begin with high school sports or
no? But I'll tell you what, I don't think you can really understand college basketball unless you follow kids up the ladder from the time that they become a recruitable athlete until they start playing. It gives you a better feeling for the tradition of the city, the legacy of basketball in the city. I think it's really important.
We welcome Brett. This is our good friend Brett. He's
How are you?
He's one of the Bible of college basketball. He thinks he knows Well,
He probably does.
He's a good guy, so we thought he'd be a great addition to the
I know a
panel.
little something, not too much, but a little something.
Well, that's okay. There have been a lot of great players who have come out of there.
He also went to St. Raymond's just like Socrates, so they know about.
Was Gary DeCesar the coach then when you were there?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, they had their share of great players come through.
Yeah, when I went in my class, I think it was Majestic Map, Greg
Yeah.
Morton, Julius Hodge. That was like my group.
Oh, I see. I remember Julius Hodge and how crazy it got when he actually turned down Syracuse to go to NC State. I mean, that was a wild scene. He was a terrific high school player.
Also, remember Peter Mulligan? I think his name was. Yeah.
That's great. No, there was an enormous tradition in that school. And the one thing I loved about Gary, he and his wife used to really tutor the kids. So by the time they got out of high school, they were all capable of doing college work. And a lot of them went on and became instant commodities in the college on the college landscape.
Okay.
Well, yeah, the Antigua brothers they're all
Right. I mean, I'm still close with them. I mean, and the ones that at back in Illinois, he was with John Calipari for a while. Orlando's back in Illinois right now.
Okay.
So, guys, if you guys questions, just chip away. I mean,
hoops. I mean, I know we could go down memory lane forever, but there's no time like the present. Talk to me. I still can't wrap my head around the SEC having 14 bids. What are your thoughts?
Socrates, I really have a problem with this. I think that no college conference deserves to have 14 of its 16 teams playing in the NCAA tournament. When you look at the teams, okay, there's a lot of teams with talent, but 6 of the 14 schools in the tournament have losing records in their league play.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And 2 of them, Oklahoma and Texas, are 6-12. I think that you ought to have to earn your way in. My whole feeling about the NCAA tournament is, I think in order to be considered for a spot in the tournament, you should have to be either 500 or have a winning record in your conference, because you choose the conference you want to play in. And frankly, if you did that, it would open the door for a lot of these mid-major programs that have really good records and more often than not get overlooked because they don't get a chance to play against the brand names.
Good answer.
yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, what are your expectations from St. John's in this tournament? Not realistic expectations.
Well, here's what I think. I think I've been watching St. John's since 1967. This, in my mind, is the best defensive team I can ever remember St. John's having. They're relentless. They play hard. They have thickness, and they have wingspan, and they have lateral quickness at the perimeter. They take you out of whatever you want to get in. And frankly, their players have all gotten a lot better. I'm a huge Rick Pitino fan. I did a book with him in Kentucky in '92, the year they got to the Final 8 and got beat on the Leitner shot.
Yeah.
I mean, that only cost me about $500,000. They win that game, they probably win the national championship. But Rick has taken 6 different teams to the NCAA tournament. Every team he's had has a tradition of getting better his second year there. His second year at St. John's, they're 30-4. I mean, their worst loss has been 3 points, and they're playing well at the right time. He had 3 players from that team make the all tournament team this weekend. I mean, Kadari Richmond, R.J. Luis, and Zubi Ejiofor, and they all deserved it. They all came up huge in various games. I mean, it was great. I have to tell you, it was great to see the Garden filled with red because it's been such a long time. I mean, they hadn't won a tournament in 25 years. They really hadn't been nationally relevant since Walter Berry was in school in '86. or the year they went to the Final Four with Chris Mullin and Murray, Wennington, Mark Jackson. I mean, and the thing I loved about those St. John's teams, they had local kids playing. And here, I mean, Rick has done it differently now. I mean, St. John's used to recruit freshmen and who were huge stars. And because they didn't have an athletic dorm, the kids could actually stay at home and get the money that it would cost to put them up in a regular dorm. So they were doing fairly well, but decided to go to St. John's. And a lot of kids wanted to play for Lucan second. A lot of players. It was a fun era. A lot of players were intoxicated by the whole Big East thing and fell in love with the idea of playing in the Garden, which is still the Mecca in my mind. And they had players who wound up being National Player of the Year back to back in Chris Mullin and Walter Berry, who were both New York kids. So that was a special time. This team has started to peak at the right time, and I think it's a good thing. I wish they hadn't been paired in the same region as Florida. They're playing out west, and they don't have the easiest road. I mean, there's a chance in the second round, if they win their first game, that they're going to draw either Kansas or they're going to draw Calipari.
Arkansas. Yeah, Arkansas.
So that'll be crazy. And then if they were to win there, they'll probably get Texas Tech and Florida. It won't be an easy road, but I'll say this: if I have one big game to play, I'll take my chances with Pitino. I think he is the best talent developer I've ever been around. When I did the book in Kentucky, I stayed down there for a year. I went to every practice. And the job that he did developing talent down there, he made average players good, and he made good players like Jamal Mashburn great. I mean, Mashburn made a lot of money playing this game once he got out. First team All-American. He's from Cardinal Hayes. When he went down there, frankly, he was a little bit overweight.
Yep.
Not only got him in shape, but he turned him into a dominant player by the time he was a sophomore. And he had a fabulous career down in Kentucky.
And the year he took Kentucky, they were coming off of probation, right?
It was the first year they were eligible for the tournament. Look, they played a near perfect game against Duke. I mean, I thought they were going to win the game after Sean Woods scored on that floater with 2.3 seconds to play. Then they did something that still leaves me mystified. Rick decided not to guard the inbound pass.
Yeah, he gave him an open view.
Yep, and Grant Hill ended up finding Leitner, who scored on a turnaround over two players who were guarding him, and the game ended in stunning fashion. I honestly thought that Kentucky played well enough to win that game, and no one gave much of a chance, except that they played almost a perfect game against Duke, and that's a Duke team that had Leitner and Hill and
Hurley.
Yeah, they had big time talent.
Yeah. That Kentucky crew, they were kind of snake bitten because the next year they got clipped by Michigan, right?
They did.
Yeah, and the semis. Yeah, I remember that game.
They did, but I'll tell you what, '96, he probably had 8 or 9 pros on the team that won it. It was one of the great college teams ever put together.
Yeah.
And frankly, had he stayed at Kentucky instead of going to the Celtics, I think he would have been Mike Krzyzewski. I think he would have had all the success Krzyzewski had because they really had it going at that point. But you know what? $50 million does a lot for your appetite when it comes to basketball.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny. I think I'm a Celtics fan, and if they would have got Tim Duncan, who knows?
It's funny. It's one of the few times I saw Rick's luck run out.
Yeah.
I mean, he had everything he touched turned to gold until that draft. And had he gotten Duncan, who knows what would have happened in Boston. But I'm not sure if Rick, it took Rick a while to understand what the NBA was like. It was a lot different even than when he coached the Knicks and
In the
Harry.
80s, right?
Right. I mean, he inherited pretty good players. He inherited Ewing and Oakley, Mark Jackson. I mean, they were a fun team to watch. And frankly, they had the Bulls beat the one year. And if they win game 6 or yeah, I guess it was 6. They probably win. They probably win the whole thing that year. That was '89. That was '89. And afterwards, Rick decided to move on, and it's taken a while for the Knicks to get back to where they can be in contention for a championship. And look, they've done it with all the kids from our city who played at Villanova. I mean, last year they were calling them the Nova Knicks. They played this year. I'm not sure if they're quite as good. I think that Cleveland's playing at a high level. The Celtics are always playing at a high level. I don't know they can beat either of those teams, but it's been fun to watch Jalen Brunson grow up. I mean, he's having a sensational NBA career. And I guess when you're making over $100 million, somebody else realizes it too. But he's really played well for them. And I'm happy for him. He's a good kid. I mean, I met him when he was, before he entered Villanova, I was in Greece for the World Championship with 19 under, and he wound up being the MVP. So you knew when he went to Villanova, he was going to be special. First year, he's there. He's a natural point guard, but he gave up his position to Ryan Arcidiacono just to be part of a winning team. They won in 16. By the time in 18, he wound up being the National Player of the Year.
Yeah, I remember that. That was his senior year, I believe, right? When they won.
I think junior year.
Oh, that was a junior.
I think he stayed 3 years. He got there in 16, played in 17, and played in 18. He was really a terrific player.
Was he a part of those back-to-back championships, or he just won one?
He started as a freshman, and then was the focal point of what they did 2 years later.
Oh yeah, because they won 2 out of 3, not back-to-back.
Right. But I mean, the 18 team that won at Villanova was probably one of the better teams I had seen. They won every game in the tournament by double figures, and they won huge against Kansas and Michigan.
Yeah, they killed my boys, Michigan, in the championship. We ran into a buzzsaw that game. DiVincenzo was bombing threes from NBA range. I remember that in the first half. I was like, well, this is a wrap.
That literally got him a pro contract. He didn't start for them. He was a 6th man. After he has that game, not only the MVP of the Final Four, but LeBron is writing about him. Next thing you know, he's the 14th pick in the draft.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's turned out to be a good ball player, though. Even after the first couple of years when he got drafted, he wasn't really doing anything. And I think I would say the last 3-4 years, he's developed a real good niche in the NBA.
Yes, I think he was a little bit. They're actually doing a commercial on all the Nova Knicks during March Madness. They have 3 of the kids from Nova playing for the Knicks right now. They picked up Mikal Bridges in the offseason to go along with Hart and Brunson. Well, they have the 3 of them, and they have DiVincenzo, and they're all together. And the 3 guys walk off, and DiVincenzo's left there by himself, and Brunson tosses him with going over that. So that's something that they'll always have. There'll always be that type of camaraderie and friendship.
That's special. Speaking of Nova, that's a job opening. You know what?
It
What
is
do
a
you think
job
happens?
opening.
What do you think happens there?
I think it's
they get back
wide.
to the
I
idea?
think it's wide open. My guess is maybe Chris Collins from Northwestern. Maybe I would think he probably might be a guy that has a legitimate shot to get that job right now. It's hard. It didn't work out for Kyle. You know, he's a New York guy, but it didn't quite work out for him. But this is a huge hire for Villanova. They went. Jay left him with a Final 14. They went 3 years without getting into the tournament. They can't afford to do that again, or the brand is really going to suffer. So whoever they hire better be able to do it. And the sad part is it's going to be a total rebuild, because Dixon's going to leave. My guess is Poplar's going to leave. My guess is Brickus might leave. So they're going to have to start from scratch if they want a team. So they better get somebody in there who A, can recruit, and B, can coach a little bit.
Real quick, I don't know if one of you has some background noise that's coming up. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm innocent.
Oh, okay. Is that you, Brett?
It might be me because I'm in my office. Hold on one
Okay.
second. Yeah, I'm doing double duty here, working and
I like that. You never know what's coming next.
and the grind doesn't stop.
Service.
Hold on one second. Let me just.
I have one question regarding your coverage of the game. What's your feelings? I mean, it's been a while. It's been a few years with the NIL in college basketball.
I look. I'm one of those people who don't disagree with the idea of paying players, but I do have a problem when the numbers get out of control and players start making more money than the coaches. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, BYU is going to play a prospect, AJ DeBanstra, 6'9", 6'10", forward. It was going to be the best prospect. It was the best prospect in the country this year. They have an idea worked out for him for $7 million, 1 year, 35 games. It's too much. I mean, after a while, there was a time when kids would go and play for the front of the jersey. Now they're playing for the number of the bank account. And I didn't like it back in the 90s when Michigan made all that money off the Fab Five, and those kids got practically nothing. Okay, now everybody's getting paid, and the numbers keep rising over and over again. I kind of liked it when kids would go to school. They actually had freshman teams, and you could follow the kids, and most of them would stay 4 years, and you really felt they were part of your class in college because you got to know them, you got to follow them, and frankly, a lot more kids stayed local. Now with the travel teams, and the money involved, a lot of these kids are just leaving, and it's harder and harder to get to build a program. Man, take a look at St. John's. Rick Pitino said this year he is not going to recruit any freshmen. He literally is going to just take transfers. And this group right now really doesn't have many recruited players playing big roles. Weiss came from UMass, and Etcheford came from another school, and Kadari Richmond came from Seton Hall. This is the wave of the future. The coaches want players who have experience and are physically developed, as opposed to 18-year-old kids that you have to coach from the ground floor up.
Do you think we're at the point of no return? Like that's just.
I do.
We're never like you had mentioned Leitner and Hurley. We'll never see that again.
No, certainly not 4-year kids like that. It's just different. I don't know what you guys think, but I think we're in a different between that and the transfer portal. I think that they might be able to slow it down a little bit if anyone who transferred had to sit out a year. I'm not saying they can't get their NIL money. They just have to sit out a year, because right now, the players really do have control over the future. I mean, coach yells at you, I'm leaving. Coach doesn't give you enough playing time, I'm out of here. You don't get enough shots, I'm out of here. You get in a fight with your teammate, I'm out of here. The kids never get a chance to grow up and work it out because they're always headed for the next adventure. Things don't work for them.
I don't like to do hypotheticals, but would Bobby Knight work today?
No.
Yeah.
No. There are a lot of coaches now. I think you have to be. It's a lot more like the pros. There's a lot more psychology. I think, Robert. You need the players to feel a level of trust if you're coaching them. I don't think, screaming them is not going to help. You better take your frustrations out on somebody else, the way Danny does or Hurley does on officials, because you can't take them out on your own players anymore.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think of? I'm a Syracuse Orange fan. What do you think that program will ever be back to?
I don't know. I'm worried. I know Autry has a job. I'm not sure if I like the way they play. I mean, look, Syracuse was an acquired taste when Jimmy Boeheim was there. They all played zone. He got players who fit the mode. He had size, and he had shooters, and you could they could get 80 and still mess with your offense because of the zone. And not that many people in college basketball see a zone defense. Certainly not the way Syracuse did. I mean, I also think this. I think they were a much better program when they played in the Big East than when they moved to the Atlantic.
Yeah,
Atlantic
I
Coast.
agree.
Take a look at the teams that left. I mean, how many people even hear about Boston College, Syracuse, Pitt? They don't move the needle the way they did when they were in the Big East.
Yeah,
and I think that it sounded great at the time. And look, the money is there if you have football. I mean, everybody can make more money because they go to schools that make so much money playing football. I mean, the SEC is nothing more than an arms race right now. But I do think it was when the Big East was at the height of its power in the 80s. Every game was must see TV. Yeah. I mean, you go up to Syracuse, you see 35,000 people for a big game. Yeah. It was like the social event of the winter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know they're getting Carmelo's son is committed to go there next year.
I think he's got a chance to be a lot better than people think. He had a really good summer for them.
Okay.
And he was being recruited by a lot of big name schools, and he opted to stay local, which makes me feel good. I hope it works out well for him. He's a huge name, and I thought he had a really good summer in UBYL.
Okay. That's good to hear.
The pressure and the pressure of going to Syracuse. I mean, he could easily.
There was all when you're the son of a legend, there's always But look, I'm sure he's dealt with that his entire life. I mean, he started at Christ the King, and then moved over to Lutheran, and he's having a terrific year. He's a top 35 recruit, so and I think he'll play right away. I mean, he gives you some size and scoring power. So if you're going to play up tempo, I take my chances with a kid like that.
Before they go, because they got most of the questions, but I got one question. What are you working on now? I mean, you've written a few books.
I've written 17 books.
17. Are you doing anything currently?
I'm almost at the end. I'm going to Raleigh on Thursday for the first and second rounds. I'll be working on the tournament for the next 3 weeks. I'll be in Raleigh and Newark and San Antonio.
Okay.
I wish if I had known that the Johnnies were going to be in Providence, I might have changed my mind. But this gives me a chance to see both Duke and Florida in the same sub-regional, and they're both number one, so I can live with that.
Okay. Speaking of Duke, is your opinion on the Cooper Flag and how serious is that injury?
I think I think he'll be fine. Except if I were Duke, I might consider holding him out against against the 16 seed in the opening round Friday. You don't want to take a chance on anything happening. Look, they can get the Final Four if he plays. If he doesn't play, it becomes a lot more difficult. I mean, he's a terrific talent. I watched him play 15 years old. I was in Spain for the 17 under World Championships. He played on the 1700 team as a 15-year-old ninth grader. He was the best player on the floor. I mean, when he was 14, he's from this little town in Maine, and he's a phenom that people had heard about, but no one really had seen play. Brian Scalabrine used to play for the Celtics. Took him to a summer run against pros and college kids. They figured, well, this will be a humbling experience, except for one thing. The kid fit right in, even back then. He was good enough that they used him to scrimmage against the Olympic team this summer before they went over to Paris. So and it's not like he misses a beat. He's going to be the number one pick if he comes out. I mean, I think that I'm not sure if it's a great draft or not this year, but I think he's a talent. Now, look, he's only 18 years old, so there's going to be a little bit of growing pains when you get to that league because you're playing against grown men who are going to try to put you in your place. But I do think he's got talent.
So hopefully he winds up on the Wizards, and
well, they need some good luck, Socrates.
But yeah, I don't know if you know this, but Brett is a Wizards fan. That's why Socrates said.
I like that.
The only reason I became a Washington fan is because of my allegiance to Michigan when they had Weber and Howard. So and for being loyal, I'm still a Wizards fan and I'm miserable. That's probably the only team I root for that hasn't won anything.
You know what? It's called loyalty.
Unfortunately.
But when you're a fan, it never changes. You're a fan every day.
Yeah, I'm big on loyalty as a sports fan. So whether your team is good or it sucks, you still gotta you gotta watch them and root for them.
I mean, at least you don't have to deal with the Sixers where you never know what players go up. Jordan Beach played 19 games. They just shut Paul George down today for the rest of the season. Tyrone Maxey's starting to get hurt because he's playing too many hard minutes. The other night they played a game against Dallas. 19 players from both teams called in sick or didn't play.
That's insane.
You're basically dealing with a bunch of G League kids out on the floor. That's insane.
We've never seen that before.
I really am down on Greg Popovich starting that load management idea. I mean, can you imagine Julius or Larry Bird or Magic or Michael Jordan missing games? They love to play. They love the competitive nature of the game. I mean, they love showing. And suppose you're a parent. You've taken a 9-year-old kid to a pro game for the first time. He's looking forward to seeing Joel Embiid play. Good luck. It's a roll of the dice because you never know who's going to play from night to night, particularly if you're getting a team that's playing back-to-back games because half the time the players won't even show up. And I'll tell you, they may not realize it, but the NBA is starting to lose their fan base, especially on television. It's not the same right now.
No, and back then it's not like Jordan and Magic were going to bed at 11 o'clock at night.
I know. No, that's one thing about Michael is he never went to bed at 11 o'clock.
They're not no milk and cookies, and watching Johnny Carson.
No. And you know what? They played hard and they worked hard. It's like New Yorkers.
Yeah.
The last great player to play every game and not sit out because of his back-to-back games is my guy Kobe. But we'll say that for another discussion. 'Cause Kobe Bryant never set out games.
I've known Kobe.
Yeah.
I met Kobe when he was 11th grade at Lower Merion High School. I mean, his dad and I were good friends, JB, and his grandfather and I were friends. And I was there the day that he signed his pro contract. And he was a true professional. When he went to LA, he always put the extra time in. He always had he had his own personal trainer, and after the Lakers would practice, he'd go out and spend another hour with him. I mean, he was built to be a success at that league.
Yeah.
I don't have any more. I didn't want to keep you too long. I mean,
No, it's great.
yeah.
It's always a pleasure talking to you guys.
Well, I gotta ask you, have you filled out a bracket? And
Yeah, I try to avoid that. Although I do think this. I think this might be one year we see a lot of scratch teams, or teams who are either ranked 1 or 2 make it to the Final Four. I mean, if I had my druthers, I'd love to see St. John's get there, just because I think it means so much to the city. And I'm also a Tom Izzo guy. I mean, but they're going to have to beat SEC teams to do it, and we'll find out how good they are quickly.
is there a particular team that you think could make a run? Let's say, like we talked about so many SEC teams, but do you think there's any teams that are underseeded?
Well, I mean, I don't think Houston's under the radar, but I do think they're good enough to make a run at the whole thing this year. Because unlike in the past, where they just beat you up defensively, he's got good offensive players now. He's got 3 shooters he can play with, including LJ Pryor. If Jawan Roberts is healthy, he's got a legitimate big guy, and they just clamp down. Everybody talks about St. John's defense, and it is special. Houston may be just as good or better at that side, on that side of the ball. And when that happens, you always have a chance. As they say, defense travels.
Who would be your dark horse throughout the whole tournament? Like just to piggyback off of what Socrates said, maybe like a seed that's maybe like 3 or 4 or lower would at least make it to like the Elite 8 or possibly Final Four. Do you see any team in that area to sneak in?
Maybe BYU of all things. They've really been playing well.
I might have to redo my bracket then.
Nah, don't do that. Don't do that. You got to stick with what you got to dance with what brought you. I mean, I think it's going to be hard because I think the 1s and 2s have the easiest road to get to the second weekend.
How legit is Auburn?
Okay.
Is Auburn the best team in the country?
Well, until the last 4 games, I thought they were, but they're going to this tournament with 3 losses in the last 4 games. When you look at their personnel, they might have the best front court if Rome is healthy, and they've got 4 guards who can all play, and they have experience and depth. I mean, and they have a lot of wins over top 15 teams. I mean, that makes them good, but I also wonder if they peaked in February. I don't know. I mean, we'll find out quickly. They didn't get to the finals of the SEC. I'm not sure if they deserve to be the number 1 overall seed or not, but we'll see. I mean, right now, if you listen to the experts on ESPN, they had a panel discussion Sunday night. Every member on that panel picked Florida to win the championship. So that's how crazy it is right now. And Florida's the one school that hardly anybody talked about during the regular season. They are in the SEC. They talked about Auburn, Alabama, and Tennessee.
Yeah.
Now Florida shows up and they play Alabama in a semifinal game and get 104 points. I mean, that rings a lot of bells for me.
Is there a particular matchup that you see in the first round that's like, okay, must watch?
Yeah, I think Kansas and Arkansas. I mean,
2 Hall of Fame coaches.
yes,
Yeah.
totally. I mean, and the winner plays Rick, probably. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people pay attention. I think.
Arkansas is kind of underachieved this year. They got some.
Yeah, I mean, I think he left himself short on the rotation, and I'm not sure if his younger players and the players he brought with him from Kentucky have had as good a season as you might expect.
Who do you like? Colorado State and Memphis. That's a nice game.
That's well, Nico Medved, the coach at Colorado State, is going to be the new coach at Minnesota when this tournament's over. I think he's a really good coach. Memphis, they had the player of the year in the American, PJ Haggerty. I think this is a good year for Penny to show what he can do because he's finally got a decent seed. He finally has some decent players. He's always had talent, but this is the first year I think he has a really good team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's wide open, but at the same time, I could see when people picking what do they call it, chalk, is going 1-1.
Right. I'm worried about. I think we could see a lot of 1s and 2s playing for the opportunity to go to San Antonio.
If there's a 1 that's vulnerable, who do you think it is to get off?
I think. Well, that's a good question. I'm going to say Auburn of all things, only because of the way they played the last 2 weeks. I mean, you never know. I mean, I think that Houston's better than they have been in the past because they're better offensively. I think that Florida's probably playing as well as anybody right now, and Duke probably has the easiest road.
I've heard that story before.
I think it happens every year, doesn't it?
How's
All right, guys.
Sorry. I was gonna say, how's Gonzaga this year? Because I haven't followed much of Gonzaga, but they could end up playing Houston.
They're an ace seed. They don't get their seeding is not as high as it normally is, but they have the guy who led the country in assist in Andrew Nemhart. They have a legitimate big guy in Ike, and they've got a wing player, Nolan Hickman. So they have 3 players who made the all tournament team in the WCC. And look, it's a team that lost to St. Mary's twice in the regular season, but when the game was on the line in the WCC final, they wound up winning the game and winning a West Coast Conference tournament for the 20th time. It's unbelievable.
Do you think Michigan got a raw deal at number 5?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the boards were up on Saturday. I think these people don't want to wait around and change things. I mean, come on, reward a team for what they do. It looks like they already made up the board before that game was played.
Yeah.
Are there any media members part of the committee? No, right?
No.
And who knows the game more than you? Because I mean, like North Carolina getting in is a disgrace.
Well, especially when you have the head of the selection committee is the AD at North Carolina. I think there are too many athletic directors on the selection committee, truthfully, and a lot of guys who don't really know as much about the game as you think, and a lot of guys who either live off analytics or read what the bracketologists write and kind of vote that way. I don't think it's a healthy thing. You see a lot of teams that probably need. I'm a big believer that we should put more emphasis on the last 10 games of the year as opposed to the first 10 games of the year, because that shows you where a team is in March. Hey guys, I got to run right now, but it was so nice talking. It was so nice talking.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss.
It's my pleasure. Okay, best of luck with your podcast, guys.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll reach out to you maybe in a few weeks. You maybe could come back on and
All right, guys. Everybody have a good night, okay?
You
Have a
too.
safe trip.
Take care.
Take care.
Oh,
Oh, well, Brett left.
Brett, he's out.
He thought I was going to end the show. I was going to end the show. But go ahead, guys.
That's pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. That was pretty dope. Let me just text him and come back on. Hold on. He probably had to go because he was a little busy too.
Well, we're not gonna say what he. We don't snitch on our boys.
But that was cool, man. That was good. He broke down some games too and the players. I thought that was awesome. And
wow,
yeah, that was good. It was different. We haven't done that in a minute. We haven't. I think this is our first guest that's not boxing, right? You got first non-boxing guest.
It might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. And it's funny. I'm dogging North Carolina right now. They're up 27-13 in the first half. So against San Diego State, who I thought San Diego State was going to smoke them, but it's still early. Look, like you, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like you, I'm not the biggest college fan as I used to be. But back when growing up, we used to buy the Street of Smith magazine, the Athlon magazine.
Street of Smith was the joint. Yeah. Street of Smith was that was the go-to.
Like Weiss said, I mean, we knew these guys from high school, but with all these transfers and stuff like that falling off, but the tournament especially, it brings you back,
Yeah. Yeah, Marky Dan. I mean, that's the whole premise of doing this Sports Talk Network. We're trying to, expand and talk about all sports. And, if we, our man Sock has the hookup, right? Holla if you hear him, and he has, links to all these media guys and, coaches and trainers and stuff. So why not let them share their knowledge here with us, and with you guys and just expand, you know what I'm saying? And just expand the brand, you know what I'm saying? So, and we come up here and we talk all different sports and we give our opinions and stuff, but we don't know it all. We're still learning. So why not bring somebody on that could teach us and show us something? So, he's a Hall of Fame columnist. He's written 17 books.
And listen, how sharp is he and the passion? Because a lot of guys at this stage in his career, he could just mail it in. He's still a fan. He's on top of his game.
Yeah.
That impressed me the most. He's a true fan and a professional.
And he's still attending games. He said he's got a schedule. He said he was out in Spain. Oh, I think he was doing something internationally as well, from what I was reading and researching. I didn't get to touch up on it, but maybe the next time. But he was working with the kid from BYU, was it?
I think he does a lot of stuff for like the Associated Press. But yeah, I mean, look, the world is smaller in a way because of this thing that we're on called the internet. I'm really, it's really cool to see that he's still very active and you know what I mean? Like he could easily just regurgitate BS, give you days. He's giving names, he's talking reasons, like it's that
of all the teams now, like Arkansas, and like he was just telling about Gonzaga. Like, I mean, I don't follow college basketball like I used to. And shout out to my man Pedro, man. What's good, Pedro? Pedro used to follow college ball too back in the day. Like, we don't follow it like we used to, like back in the 90s and early 2000s and even in the late 80s. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to you, Pedro. But he's still on it. He's still new players and everything, So he says, Vivio says, you guys remind me of the two Spanish cops from Bad Boys. This guy's the worst. Tay was good. Salute. These guys are clowning in there. And Pedro, facts, Pedro. But who almost came on? He just canceled like 15 minutes before something came up. But Carl Krauser was going to come on. So I told him maybe tomorrow, maybe on Friday. I definitely want to get him on because I've been saying to get Carl Krauser on since like last year. So I think Carl Krauser would be a great interview. I mean, he has a lot of. I think he just got a head coaching job too, which is terrific. I mean, Carl Krauser is a great young man, and and he's not a young man, but he's considered a young man. He's from my area in the Bronx, and played for Pitt 4 years. If I'm not, I could be wrong, but I think he's the only New York point guard to play for a college and go to the NCAA tournament 4 years. I don't think any of the New York point guards, at least the ones that they put on that the New York guards, that documentary they did, I don't think anybody else has done that. So Carl Krause, I think, would be a great interview. So hopefully, if not tomorrow, Friday.
That's a monster trivia question. Oh, okay.
Look at this guy. Pedro always got his jokes.
That's the original Golden State Warrior fan.
He don't like him anymore. He's not a Warrior fan anymore. Pedro, what's the team now, Pedro? He's not a Warriors fan anymore.
Pedro was the dude that he bought Amazon back in 1996, right? He sold it like he sold it like right.
He sold it early.
He sold it early. What the fuck?
He was the first. I think the first Golden State fan I ever knew, and he doesn't like them anymore. I think he's a Knicks fan.
Yeah, win too much.
He's a Knicks fan.
Ah, bozo.
Knicks tape. But seriously, before we're talking about Sprewell, Hardaway, Webb. I think was Weber there too at that time. All I know is that he was a Golden State guy.
Yes.
So
run TMC. That's right. Mitch Richmond.
Only one, and then everybody jumped in the wagon when Golden State got good again, and he jumped off. He sold them and jumped with the Knicks. What a terrible move, Pedro. I just
wow, Carolina making me wow.
Did you have to pick that game for your brackets? Did you have to pick that game?
No, we never do.
Yeah, because we never picked those play-in games, but this guy's a clown, man. But I appreciate everybody came through. Guys, please do me a favor. If you're watching this video, you got a chance, share this video, let people see this, especially if you're in New York. Dick Weiss been covering college basketball for close to over 40 years. Did New York, he said 23 years, in the New York Daily News. Please share it. I think he had good insight. Still active, and I think that was what I was most impressed with him, that he's still active and still knows these players like nothing, and he knew the games. I can't do that now.
Yeah, that recall, right?
It was like nothing.
Kentucky Duke game, he's like, wow, okay, he's a true professional.
Yeah, he broke down the game, the entire game, not just the last shot by Leitner. So guys, please share it. I'm gonna post this afterwards, maybe post some shorts out of it. But this was good. Sock with the hookup, he hit him up first, and then I followed through. And Brett, good looks for coming up, helping out with the interview, because my college basketball knowledge has dropped over the past 10 years. So, but
it's a fun time of the year. I mean, the tournament is tremendous. I love it. I'll be, it was a day that I would mark on my calendar to call out sick at work. Before you could watch the games on your phone, right? Now, I can watch it on my desk.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. We used to always mark out. Remember, we went to Catholic school, right? So we would still love it if Holy Thursday and Good Friday was on the first week of the tournament, because we could watch the games. Because we always got off Thursday and Friday. So
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, so that was man. Pedro, I don't know, most likely Friday night, but if Carl gives us this interview tomorrow, we may do something to pop up tomorrow with Carl Krause. You know Carl Krause, right, Pedro? You should know. From the Bronx here, played at Pitt. So
I think we definitely got to get something going. It'd be cool for the Sweet 16, but definitely for the Final Four that weekend.
Yeah. I'll ask him maybe the Final Four if you want to come on and give his take. So, but yeah, man, this was dope. This was great. Appreciate it, Sock and Brett, for coming on. Thank you. He knows who Carl Krause is. I appreciate everybody. Thank you for coming through. It's another dope video. Back-to-back Hall of Famers we had on. That's crazy. We had the Commish Gordon on Thursday, came back here tonight, and another Hall of Famer in Dick Weiss. You guys have a good night. Sock, I appreciate you. We'll talk later.
Thanks.
And we'll catch you guys on the next one.
All right.
Peace, everybody.
Go Johnnies.